The night they told me to leave, my mom didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. It was quieter than that. Colder. "I think it's time," she said, standing near the kitchen island like she was talking about rearranging furniture instead of me. I remember blinking at her. Time for what? She didn't answer right away. Just glanced at Mark, my stepdad, like she needed confirmation for something she had already decided. Mark stepped in, of course. "It's time you move out," he said. Calm. Controlled. Like he was doing me a favor. "You're old enough. You've stayed here long enough." I let that sit for a second. Then I nodded. "Okay," I said. "Since when?" That's when my mom finally looked at me. Not fully. Just enough to make it official. "Don't do this, Daniel," she said. "We've talked about it." We hadn't. Not really. We'd danced around it. Hinted. Made little comments here and there, mostly from Mark. Things like, "You ever think about getting your own place? You should learn independence. At some point, you gotta stand on your own 2 feet." But those weren't conversations. Those were warnings. And I guess tonight, they decided to stop hinting. "All right," I said quietly. "When do you want me out?" Mark didn't hesitate. Tonight would be best. That one landed. Not because of what he said. But because of how easily he said it. Like he'd been waiting. Like this was something he'd already rehearsed in his head. I glanced back at my mom. She didn't argue. Didn't soften it. Didn't say, maybe give him a few days. Nothing. Just silence. And that's when something inside me shifted. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just a quiet, internal click. Like a door closing. "Got it," I said. And I walked to my room. The thing about moments like that? They don't feel real while they're happening. Everything slows down in a weird way. Your brain starts picking up small details instead of the big one. Like how the hallway light flickered when I walked past. Or how my door creaked a little louder than usual when I pushed it open. Or how my room still looked exactly the same. Like nothing had changed. Except everything had. I grabbed my duffel bag from the closet. Started folding clothes. Shirts first. Then jeans. Moved slow. Not because I was trying to make a point. Just because. I didn't feel rushed. Not emotionally, at least. Because this didn't start tonight. This started years ago. When my mom married Mark, I was 16. Old enough to understand what was happening. Young enough to still hope it wouldn't change things. At first, it didn't. Or at least, that's what I told myself. Mark was polite. Not warm. Not cold. Just neutral. He'd ask about school. Nod when I answered. Keep conversations short. And I figured, okay. Maybe that's just how he is. Not everyone's expressive. Not everyone's trying to be your friend. Fine. I could work with that. But then little things started stacking up. Subtle stuff. The kind you don't notice all at once. Like how decisions stopped including me. Family dinners. Suddenly, plans would come up last minute. Trips. I'd hear about them after they were already booked. Even simple things, like rearranging the house, would happen without a word to me. At first, I brushed it off. They're busy, I told myself. It's not personal. But then Ethan, Mark's son, moved in full-time. And that's when it got clearer. Ethan was a year younger than me. Loud. Confident. The kind of guy who walked into a room like he already owned it. And Mark? He lit up around him. Not dramatically. But enough. You could see it. Hear it. Feel it. "Attaboy," Mark would say when Ethan did something right. Or even something average. Doesn't matter. It was acknowledged. Celebrated, even. Meanwhile, I could bring home straight A's. And the response would be something like, "Good. Keep it up." That's it. No eye contact. No pause. Just, moving on. And look, I'm not saying I needed applause. But when you watch someone else get it for less, you notice. You always notice. Daniel. My mom's voice pulled me back to the present. I turned. She was standing in the doorway of my room. Arms crossed. Same posture she always used when she was uncomfortable but trying not to show it. "You don't have to take everything tonight," she said. "You can come back for the rest." I looked at her. For a second. I almost said something. Almost asked her why. Why tonight? Why like this? Why no conversation? But I already knew the answer. Because it was easier. Easier than dealing with it slowly. Easier than explaining. Easier than facing me. So instead, I just nodded. "I'll manage." She hesitated. Like she wanted to say something else. But then she didn't. Just turned, and walked away. And that was that. I zipped the bag. Took one last look around the room. Not because I was emotional about it. But because I like finishing things properly. Even endings. Especially endings. Then I walked out. Mark was in the living room. Sitting. Waiting. Of course. He stood up when I stepped in. "Got everything?" he asked. "Enough." He nodded. Didn't offer help. Didn't offer anything. Just watched me walk to the door. I opened it. Stepped outside. And right before I closed it, I heard him say, "This is for your own good." I almost smiled. Not because it was funny. But because it was predictable. People love that line. Makes them feel justified. Like they're doing something noble. Even when they're not. I didn't respond. Just closed the door. The air outside felt different. Cooler. Quieter. Or maybe that was just me. I walked to my car. Tossed the bag in the back seat. Then sat down in the driver's seat and just stayed there. Hands on the wheel. Engine off. Staring straight ahead. Not thinking. Not reacting. Just letting it settle. After a minute, I let out a slow breath. "All right," I said under my breath. "Guess we're here now." My phone buzzed. Maya. Of course. "You okay?" the text read. I stared at it for a second. Then typed back. "Just got kicked out." 3 dots appeared almost instantly. "Wait, what?" "Yeah." A pause. Then. "I'm coming." I shook my head, even though she couldn't see me. "No," I typed. "I'll come to you." Another pause. "You sure?" "Yeah." A few seconds later. "Okay. I'll be home." I started the car. Pulled out of the driveway. And for the first time, I didn't look back. Maya opened the door before I knocked. She always did that. Like she had some kind of sixth sense for timing. She took one look at me. Then at the bag. Then stepped aside without saying a word. I walked in. Dropped the bag near the couch. Sat down. She went to the kitchen, grabbed a glass of water, and handed it to me. "Thanks." She leaned against the counter. Arms crossed. Watching me. Talk, she said. I took a sip. It finally happened. They kicked you out. Yeah. How? Simple. Quick. Efficient. She tilted her head slightly. That doesn't sound like you're surprised. I'm not. That answer hung there for a second. Then she nodded. Yeah, she said quietly. That tracks. Because she knew. She'd seen it. Not all of it. But enough. Enough to understand the pattern. The tone. The way things were shifting over time. So what now? She asked. I set the glass down. Now, we wait. She raised an eyebrow. Wait for what? I leaned back against the couch. For them to realize what they just did. She frowned slightly. What do you mean? I looked at her. Really looked. Then I said, calmly. They think they kicked me out of their house. A pause. But it's not just their house. Maya didn't respond right away. Her expression shifted. Confusion first. Then curiosity. Then something else. Daniel, she said slowly. What are you talking about? I didn't answer. Not yet. Just leaned my head back. And closed my eyes for a second. Because the truth was. This story didn't start tonight. And it definitely wasn't going to end like they thought. Not even close. 3 years ago, my mom came to me with a stack of papers. It was late. Kitchen lights on. Mark wasn't home. Which, in hindsight, mattered. I need you to sign something, she said. I looked up from my laptop. What is it? Just, property paperwork, she replied. It's nothing complicated. I took the papers. Started reading. Because that's what I do. I read things. Carefully. And that's when I noticed it. Ownership. Names. Percentages. Why is my name on this? I asked. She hesitated. Just for a second. It's, for protection, she said. Mark's getting into some investments. This keeps things safe. Safe how? In case anything goes wrong, she said quickly. It just, spreads things out. I kept reading. Didn't rush. Didn't react. Just, processed. 50%. Her. 50%. Me. Not temporary. Not conditional. Equal. I looked up at her. You sure about this? She nodded. Yeah. It's just a formality. A formality. I almost smiled at that. But instead, I just picked up the pen. And signed. Quietly. Carefully. And after that? I didn't bring it up again. Didn't remind her. Didn't correct Mark. Didn't mention it to Ethan. Nothing. I just, let things play out. Handled small things when they came up. Property taxes. Insurance renewals. Maintenance calls. Stuff they didn't pay attention to. Stuff that kept everything running. And over time. They forgot. Or maybe they never really knew to begin with. Either way. They got comfortable. And comfort? It makes people careless. Back in Maya's apartment, I opened my eyes. She was still looking at me. Waiting. So, she asked. I exhaled slowly. Legally, I said, I own half of that house. Silence. Then. What? 50%, I repeated. My name's on the title. She blinked. Processing. Then leaned back against the counter. No way. Yeah. And they don't know? I shook my head. Not really. A slow smile spread across her face. Wow, she muttered. Yeah. She pushed off the counter. Walked over. Sat across from me. That's not small, Daniel. I know. What are you gonna do? I looked at her. Then shrugged, just slightly. Nothing, I said. Yet. And that's when she smiled. Because she understood. I wasn't reacting. I was waiting. And when you've been quiet for that long, when you've been underestimated for years, you don't rush moments like this. You let them build. You let them come to you. Because eventually, they always do. And when they do, you're ready. And they weren't. Not even close. The call came 10 days later. Not dramatic. Not urgent. Just deliberate. My phone lit up while I was sitting at a small table near the window of a cafe I'd started using as a workspace. Same place every morning. Same seat. Same black coffee. Routine had a way of keeping things steady. The name on the screen? Mom. I let it ring twice. 3 times. Then I answered. Hey. Silence on the other end for a second. Not awkward. Just measured. We need to talk, she said. Of course we did. I leaned back slightly, watching people move past the glass window like everything outside was still normal. About what? Another pause. The house. There it was. Clean. Direct. I took a sip of coffee. Okay. Can you come by today? I checked the time, even though I already knew I had nothing scheduled. Yeah, I said. I'll be there in an hour. She didn't say thank you. Just, okay. Then the line went dead. I set the phone down. Stared at it for a second. Then let out a slow breath. Well, I muttered quietly. That didn't take long. Maya didn't ask questions when I told her. She just nodded once. You want me to come? She asked. No. You sure? Yeah. She studied my face. Trying to read something. All right, she said finally. Then don't rush it. I gave a small nod. I won't. And Daniel, she added. I looked at her. Don't let them set the tone. I almost smiled. Trust me, I said. They won't. The drive over felt shorter than usual. Or maybe I just wasn't thinking about it the same way anymore. Funny how perspective shifts. The same street. The same driveway. The same house. But none of it felt like mine anymore. Not emotionally. Which made what I knew even more interesting. I parked. Sat there for a second. Then stepped out. The front door was already unlocked. Of course it was. I walked in. And right away. I could feel it. That tension. Not loud. But tight. Like the air had weight. Mark was at the dining table. Papers spread out. Laptop open. Focused, but not really. My mom stood near the kitchen, arms crossed, watching me walk in. Same posture. Same distance. Same, everything. Hey, I said. No one responded right away. Then Mark gestured toward the chair across from him. Sit. I did. Slowly. Deliberately. He slid a document toward me without making eye contact. We're refinancing, he said. Need your signature. I didn't touch it. Just looked at the paper. Then at him. Why? He finally looked up. Because he wasn't expecting that question. Because your name is still on the title, he said, like it was obvious. Still. That word again. I nodded once. Right. I picked up the paper. Read it. Carefully. Not because I didn't understand what it was. But because I wanted him to sit there, and wait. And he did. Impatient. Subtle, but visible. Foot tapping once under the table. Jaw tightening just a little. Then I set the paper down. I'm not signing this. Silence. My mom shifted slightly where she stood. What do you mean? She asked. I mean, I said calmly, I'm not signing it. Mark leaned forward. You don't have a choice. That one almost made me laugh. But I didn't. I just looked at him. Really looked. At the confidence. The certainty. The assumption that this conversation would go exactly the way every other one had. Then I shook my head. Actually, I said, I do. The room went still. Daniel, my mom said, tone softer now. This isn't about all that. This is just paperwork. No, I replied. It's not. I tapped the document lightly. This changes the structure, I said. Refinancing means new terms. New liabilities. Mark's expression tightened. You don't need to worry about that. I do, I said. Because my name is on it. He exhaled sharply. This is ridiculous. Is it? Yes. You don't even live here anymore. I let that sit for a second. Then nodded. Right, I said. Because I was told to leave. My mom stepped forward. That's not. It is, I said gently. You said it was time. He said tonight would be best. No anger in my voice. Just clarity. And that made it harder to argue with. Mark leaned back in his chair. Look, he said. This isn't personal. It's just how things need to be handled. I tilted my head slightly. Handled how? Efficiently. There it was. That word. Efficient. Like I was a task. A step in a process. I nodded slowly. Okay, I said. Then let's handle it properly. He frowned. What does that mean? It means, I said, we treat this like what it is. And what's that? I held his gaze. A shared asset. Silence. Heavy this time. My mom's arms tightened across her chest. Mark's expression didn't change immediately. But something in his posture did. A slight shift. A recalibration. You're making this more complicated than it needs to be, he said. No, I replied. I'm making it accurate. Another pause. Then he leaned forward again. Voice lower now. You lived here under my roof. I met his eyes. Our roof. That landed. Not loud. Not aggressive. Just precise. And for the first time since I walked in. He didn't have an immediate response. My mom stepped in again, softer this time. Daniel, she said. We're just trying to move forward. So am I said. Then why are you doing this? I looked at her. Really looked. And for a second. I almost said it. Almost told her how it felt. The years of being secondary. The way things shifted. The way she let it happen. But I didn't. Because this wasn't about emotions anymore. Not here. Not like this. I'm not doing anything, I said calmly. I'm just not agreeing to something that affects me without being part of the decision. She opened her mouth slightly. Then closed it. Because there wasn't much to argue with. Mark pushed his chair back slightly. Frustration showing now. Subtle. But there. What do you want? He asked. That was the first real question. Not an assumption. Not a command. A question. And I didn't answer right away. Because timing matters. I want clarity, I said finally. About what? Everything. He frowned. That's not helpful. It is, I said. You just don't like it. My mom stepped closer to the table. Daniel, we're not trying to exclude you. I raised an eyebrow slightly. Really? Silence. Because we all knew that wasn't true. I reached into my pocket. Pulled out my phone. Opened the original documents. Then turned the screen toward them. 50%, I said. Legally. My mom's face changed. Not shock. Not confusion. Recognition. Like something she'd tucked away, just came back. You said it was temporary, she said quietly. I never agreed to that, I replied. Mark looked at the screen. Then at me. Then back at the screen. And for the first time. He wasn't in control of the room. Not completely. You're seriously going to hold this over us? He asked. No, I said. Then what is this? I leaned back slightly. This is me, not stepping aside anymore. The words hung there. Simple. But heavy. My mom sat down slowly. Like her legs needed a second. This is getting out of hand, she said quietly. No, I replied. It's just becoming visible. The room stayed quiet for a while. No one rushing to speak. No one trying to fill the silence. Because suddenly, there was something real in the middle of it. Something they couldn't ignore. Finally, my mom spoke. What happens now? I looked at her. Then at Mark. Then back at her. We take time, I said. We think about what this actually means. Mark shook his head slightly. We don't have time for that. You should have thought about that before asking me to leave, I replied. That one hit. Not aggressively. But clean. I stood up. Slowly. We're not signing anything today, I said. Mark opened his mouth. Then closed it. Because he knew. Pushing harder right now wouldn't work. Not anymore. I walked toward the door. My mom stood up. Daniel, she said. I paused. Turned slightly. What? Her expression softened. Just a little. We didn't mean for it to get like this. I held her gaze for a second. Then nodded once. Yeah, I said. I believe that. And I did. But intention doesn't change impact. Outside, the air felt lighter again. Or maybe I just did. I walked to my car. Pulled out my phone. Maya answered on the first ring. Well? I leaned against the car. They asked me to sign. And? I said no. A pause. Then a quiet exhale. Of course you did. I smiled slightly. They didn't expect it. Yeah, she said. People rarely do when you stop playing your role. That line sat with me. Because it was true. For years, I'd been predictable. Reliable. Easy to manage. Not anymore. So what now? She asked. I looked back at the house. Through the front window, I could see movement. Shadows shifting. Conversation starting. They're thinking, I said. And you? I opened the car door. I'm waiting. Because here's the thing about pressure. You don't apply it all at once. You let it build. Slowly. Naturally. Until the other side starts making mistakes. And I had a feeling that part was coming soon. The mistake didn't come right away. That's the thing about people like Mark, they don't fold under pressure immediately. They push back first. They try to reassert control, reframe the situation, make it seem like nothing's changed. But something had changed. And he felt it. Even if he didn't want to admit it. The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. No calls. No messages. No updates. Which told me everything I needed to know. They were trying to figure it out. Trying to understand how something they thought was simple had turned into this. I didn't reach out. Didn't check in. Didn't push. Because this wasn't the moment to act. This was the moment to wait. Maya noticed it too. "They're stalling," she said one night while we were sitting on her balcony. City lights stretching out in front of us, soft hum of traffic below. "Yeah," I replied. "They think if they slow it down, you'll back off." I shook my head slightly. "They're hoping I will." She glanced at me. "You won't." It wasn't a question. "No." A small pause. Then she smiled. "Good." The call came 4 days later. This time, it wasn't my mom. It was Mark. That alone said a lot. I let it ring once. Then answered. "Hey. Come by tomorrow," he said. No greeting. No build-up. "Why?" "We need to finish this." I almost smiled. Finish. Like it was already decided. "What time?" I asked. "Morning. 10. "All right." He hung up. The next morning, I didn't rush. Took my time. Got dressed. Grabbed coffee. Drove over like it was any other day. Because for me, it was. But for them, not so much. When I walked in, the setup was different. Mark wasn't alone this time. There was someone else sitting at the table. Older guy. Mid-50s. Suit, but not flashy. Clean, professional. Lawyer. Of course. My mom sat next to him. Hands folded. Tense. Mark stood near the window, arms crossed. Watching. "Daniel," the lawyer said, standing up slightly. "Thanks for coming." I nodded once. Didn't sit right away. Just took in the room. The positioning. The dynamics. They were trying to formalize it. Control it. Turn it into something structured. Something they could manage. I sat down. "Let's hear it." The lawyer slid a new set of papers toward me. "We've reviewed the ownership structure," he said. Calm, neutral tone. "And we'd like to propose a resolution." I didn't touch the papers yet. "Go on." He glanced at Mark, then back at me. "The idea is to buy out your share." There it was. Clean. Predictable. I nodded slowly. "At what value?" He mentioned a number. Low. Not insulting, but definitely strategic. Calculated to seem fair on the surface. But it wasn't. Not really. I leaned back in the chair. "Based on what?" "Market estimates," he said. I nodded. "Whose?" A slight pause. Then he adjusted. "We can provide full documentation." "Do that," I said. Mark stepped in. "Daniel, let's not drag this out." I looked at him. "I'm not." "You are." No, I said calmly. I'm just not rushing it. He exhaled sharply. You don't even live here. And you told me to leave. Silence. Again. That line. It kept coming back. Because it mattered. My mom finally spoke. We're trying to fix things. I looked at her. By removing me completely? That's not what this is. It kind of is. She didn't respond. Because again. There wasn't much to argue with. I picked up the papers. Started reading. Line by line. No skipping. No rushing. Letting the silence stretch. Letting them sit in it. Because that's what they'd done to me for years. Small pauses. Small dismissals. Small moments where I didn't matter. Now. They felt it. When I finished, I set the papers down. I'm not agreeing to this. Mark laughed once. Short. Sharp. Of course you're not. The lawyer shifted slightly. Trying to keep things controlled. Daniel, what would you consider acceptable? That was the right question. But it came too late. I looked at him. Then at Mark. Then at my mom. And for a second. I thought about answering. About negotiating. About meeting them halfway. But then I remembered something. All those years of adjusting. Compromising. Making things easier for everyone else. And where that got me. Standing outside with a duffel bag. So I shook my head. This isn't about numbers. The lawyer frowned slightly. Then what is it about? I leaned forward. It's about the fact that I was removed from something I legally own. Mark stepped in again. You weren't removed. You moved out. I met his eyes. You told me to leave. There it was again. Same line. Same weight. And this time. It hit harder. Because there were witnesses now. The lawyer cleared his throat slightly. Let's stay focused. I am, I said. Then I looked at my mom. Do you remember when you asked me to sign the papers? She hesitated. Then nodded. Yes. You said it was for protection. Another nod. It was. For who? Silence. Because the answer wasn't simple anymore. I sat back. Calm. Controlled. I didn't question it, I said. I didn't push back. I just trusted you. My mom's expression shifted. Subtle. But real. And then years later, I continued, I get told to leave. Same house. Same ownership. Different treatment. The room went quiet. Not tense this time. Just heavy. Because now. It wasn't just about legality. It was about context. The lawyer spoke again. Daniel, I understand this feels personal. It is personal. I said it simply. Not emotional. Just factual. And that's exactly why I'm not treating it like a transaction. Mark ran a hand through his hair. Frustrated now. You're making this bigger than it needs to be. No, I said. I'm just not shrinking it anymore. That one landed. Deep. My mom looked down at her hands. Then back up at me. What do you want? She asked again. But this time. It sounded different. Less defensive. More real. I took a breath. Then answered. I want acknowledgement. Mark scoffed. That's not how this works. I didn't even look at him. I kept my eyes on her. I want you to say what actually happened. She didn't respond right away. Her eyes flicked to Mark. Then back to me. And for a second, you could see the conflict. The pressure. The years of balancing. Then she exhaled. We handled it wrong. Mark turned sharply. Linda. She raised a hand. Not loudly. Just enough. We did, she said. We should have talked to you. Not just, decided. Silence. Mark didn't interrupt again. Because now. It wasn't just me saying it. I nodded once. Thank you. Simple. But it mattered. The lawyer leaned forward slightly. So, where does that leave us? I thought about it. Then said. It leaves us with options. Which are? I stood up. Slowly. Either we restructure this properly, I said, with full transparency and equal input. I paused. Then added. Or we don't move forward at all. Mark frowned. That's not realistic. It is, I said. You just don't like it. He looked at the lawyer. Then back at me. Calculating. Because now. This wasn't a one-sided decision anymore. My mom spoke again. We need time. I nodded. Take it. I walked toward the door. Same as last time. But different. Because this time. No one tried to stop me. No one tried to control the outcome. They just watched. Outside, I paused for a second. Took a breath. Then pulled out my phone. Maya answered immediately. Well? I smiled slightly. They tried to buy me out. And? I said no. A pause. Then a quiet laugh. Of course you did. I leaned against the car. They also brought a lawyer. Ouch. Yeah. What happened? I looked back at the house. Then said. They finally said it. Said what? That they handled it wrong. Silence. Then. How'd that feel? I thought about it. Not dramatic. Not overwhelming. Just, steady. Like things are finally, where they should be. Because this was never about revenge. It was about balance. About being seen. About not being, quietly removed from something that mattered. And now? That wasn't happening anymore. A few weeks later, we met again. Different tone. Different setup. No pressure. No assumptions. Just, conversation. Real ones. We restructured everything. Clearly. Fairly. No shortcuts. No hidden terms. And for the first time in years, I wasn't adjusting to their decisions. We were making them together. I didn't move back in. That part was done. Some things don't reset. And that's okay. But the dynamic? That changed. Permanently. Because the truth is, they thought they could remove me quietly. Like I wouldn't notice. Like I wouldn't push back. Like I didn't have a place there. But they were wrong. And the moment they realized that, wasn't loud. Wasn't dramatic. Just, undeniable. I started the car. Pulled out of the driveway one last time. And this time, it didn't feel like I was leaving anything behind. It felt like I'd finally taken my place. Quietly. Completely. And on my terms.